You had your hand up. You wanted to say something, or
Yeah, I just want to let you know I'm a teacher. My name is Barb Wismer. I'm the
hi.
room moderator. So I'm here to give you a 5-minute warning and a 1-minute warning if you need it. So I'll just send a chat to both of you if that's all right and let you know. But I'm very interested to
Okay,
hear your presentation.
super, great. Well, welcome. So thank you for this fantastic introduction, Brandy. So I'm going to jump right in. So today's very quick 25 minutes now. It's going to be about careers in fashion and fashion accessories design, because we are still fashion accessories until the end of May, and then we are launching a new apparel program, and we have amazing interest already for that. So the fashion accessories and fashion design roles are kind of the same. So we'll go through it's just the product is different. So we're going to go through those jobs, and then I will present what our BFA program is all about. And then I will show a little film in the end about our very first catwalk show that we produced in April. And we already started working on our next catwalk show. And we decided that where the catwalk show took place is going to be a home for all future catwalk shows. So I'll go ahead and share my screen first. So, move a couple icons around here. And let's go into the designer roles. So the designer roles. So the first designer role obviously is being a designer. Whether you are a footwear designer, handbag designer, fashion designer, we would train you to be a designer. And it's such a broad defined I see somebody smiling. These are actually my from my collections. So it's such a broad definition with being a designer. So I always say, well, start thinking, do you want to be a women's wear designer, menswear designer? There's also a really big window opening now for no gender designers, unisex designers, sportswear designer, children's designer, workwear designer. I mean, the categories are huge. I used to work at Puma in Germany. We were consulting them, and I was in the sportswear division, which is like totally not my world, but they gave me sailing. And it was just thinking that even under sportswear, I think we had 11 categories. So being a designer, there's huge opportunities. Don't forget that fashion design is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. The other one that is very interesting as a career is a production or a production developer. Kind of it depends where you work, what you call this position, but it's somebody who develops your designs into a prototype and then finally takes charge of the collection production. So this is one, in my opinion, one of the most kind of not only stressful jobs, but sort of a wide-reaching. For example, with this Puma experience, we worked with a developer. We would give her drawings, maybe some drapes of products. She would go to the factories in China, and the product would be on our desks 2 to 3 weeks. It's also actually a pretty well-paid position, by the way, but you have to be really sort of a very energetic and very organized to do this job. So again, I have basically, footwear references here. Another position is being a buyer, and this is really attractive for job option for a lot of fashion, particularly fashion merchandising and buying students. But it's not only like you go shopping, so being a fashion buyer is actually, you have to be pretty good with math. You have to have a very good eye. You have to understand what your company needs. You have to understand what sells. These are all very important things. And but if you become like a top buyer for a brand like Bertha von Goodman or Saks or whoever, of course you can have a very glamorous life. But then there's also the buyers for the thousands of other retailers. So it's kind of like researching at first, like what's your ultimate goal? Like what level of market do you want to be in? And then we have, I put this picture here from a typical buying event for shoes. This is from a MICOM show in Milan. And if you imagine this and 10 times over on 2 floors, it's just crazy, these trade shows that, that you will go to as a buyer. So if you have a passion for your product, this is where you're going to be spending your life. And the buyers always come with spreadsheets to figure out how much money they have spent on your brand. Merchandiser is another position that it's slightly changing. And when you talk about merchandising, a lot of the buyers have to also act as a merchandiser. But a merchandiser, I'm not talking about window merchandising. I'm talking about merchandising for a product line in a company. So you would basically analyze data and see what will be the most likely type of product that will sell in the next few seasons. And then you will communicate this kindly to the designers, who are going to be saying probably that I'm going to design whatever I want. Well, in the real world, you have to actually listen to merchandisers to understand what's going to sell for the company. And then, of course, there's the merchandising in the actual retail environment, where it's a whole science, like what colors are placed on what level, on the eye level or hand level. And of course, there's the whole world of window merchandising as well. Trend work it's a little smaller category, but it still is a pretty good job to have. There's important trend agencies in the world. I work with a couple of them when I graduated from school. And if you don't like designing, if you don't like making things, but you really love fashion and you love social media, Trends is a really good place to go to. So of course, WGSN is the leading trend agency in the world. There are many others, for example, TrendStop, Future Laboratory, etc. So this is sort of analyzing many aspects of fashion, from trade shows to social media and also to consumer behavior. Then there's the color and material world. I have some students that are working with companies only dealing with researching of materials. There's huge material shows in the world, from various Asian countries to the big European trade shows, to North American shows as well. So you go and you look at materials that would, of course, you work with the designers of what materials can even, source. Of course, the sustainable materials are so huge at the moment. Then there's the jobs that are more technical. We have the pattern maker and the modeling job. We call a modelist in footwear, but you can be a pattern maker, and some students really love that. They are not, bothered about the kind of the end result. They just really like, you had to kind of be no geometry, and you had to take 2D ideas to 3D and then back to 2D. And this is a very sought after job, being a pattern maker, especially for accessories, because there's not too many of them in the US. And then you can become a maker. And I have a couple of friends here. Marcel Marsan is a famous shoemaker. All he does is just make shoes, and he loves shoes, and that's his business model. You can also be a designer and maker. So you can design your own collections. You can make them for private clients. This is Anne-Marika Verblok Chasse. I know I probably should have put her name. It's like 20 letters long, but she also works with theater companies. So there's that kind of a role that you can do. And then ultimately you can be a freelancer. I mean, a lot of us do freelancing. I still do freelancing. You kind of like, somebody calls it also ghost designer. You can work for companies, just design and get paid per collection, per piece. It depends how you negotiate. So I felt that freelancing is a really good option if you don't want to commit to a full-time job with a company. So this is the sort of a quick overview of the designer roles. So let's go into the actual program that we are launching in the fall. So we have been around for 6 years. I came to Detroit from Europe. They showed me an empty floor in our building, and it was incredible. And they said, create whatever you want here. They wanted me to create accessories department first, but I came to realize in about 4 years that we actually need fashion culture around us. We also need the fashion apparel world. So we're going to introduce and add it to our existing beautiful and very successful curriculum. Students are placed in all the big companies. And of course, I don't want to make any empty promises, but if you're a good student and you go through the program, I can pretty much guarantee a good job. So the fashion design department well, first of all, we changed the name already officially. And we're going to be launching September 6th, 2022 at 1 p.m. Actually, we're going to have a ribbon cutting event, and we're going to open our new department. So this was what you saw before, and now it's full of equipment and machinery, and we have a really beautiful space. We have over 6,000 square feet to work in, so it's a really great space for students to work in. And here's a little bit of a general description of description of the program. And it's to somebody who has interest in fashion and just loves, breathes, lives fashion. And that's, we want those super enthusiastic students. And we almost like not to bother, like, can you draw? I mean, I have a picture here from the master illustrator, Mats Gustafsson. It doesn't mean that you have to draw like this, but you have to be really passionate about the careers, and we'll teach you how to draw like that. So here's a little more about the careers that we went through. And the actual curriculum is the first semester in next fall. We have all the collapsible shoulder, brand new mannequins waiting here for the students. It will be a very basic introduction to pattern making and draping. So you will know how to make a garment by the end of the first semester. That's very important because the next semester you will be taking accessories. Every student has to take apparel class and an accessories class the first year. Then when you get to the end of the first year, you will make your decision. Which direction do you want to go to? Do you want to stay with apparel, or do you want to specialize in accessories? So those are the two things that we will offer in this program. I kind of want to create this super student that knows everything. Don't forget, accessories is it is maybe the most lucrative part of any luxury fashion brand. Then we have our first big studio, which is a historical dress. So you take references from historical dress and create a contemporary version of it. We used to do this in my previous job in Florence, in Polymoda. We took references from historical paintings, and it's such a fun class. You only make one outfit, and the teacher comes from the Shakespeare Theatre and Opera studio here in Detroit. And we have things like fashion anthropology. It's really also important to be a thinker in the world of fashion and ability to understand society. Fashion illustration as well. We do have both. We have the very creative fashion expression, but we also have the technical drawing. So in this class, I want the students to be really explorative, explore and play with the idea of fashion. Sustainability, hugely important, always sells out. We might have to add another section because it's already sold out for winter. Everybody just wants to really know more about how to become a better designer and save, the future. Then we have collection design, where you actually have a chance to design a full collection. This is the 4th semester. So you already have experience of how to do a lot of things in this particular class. And by the way, all these classes run in parallel with accessories. So if you are a footwear student, you would then make a footwear collection. If you are apparel, you would do apparel collection. We have also a really big emphasis on digital understanding of things. So we're exploring Cloth 3D at the moment, but in the digital fabrication, you learn to do 3D objects in the digital world. And, so how to 3D print, which is actually used a lot in our department. Students 3D print all kinds of things. And you also learn to use our $68,000 cutter that we have in our department, which is like a laser cutter without the laser. It cuts any material really, really well. Embellished surfaces, this is a bit more couture, so how to beautify surfaces using various kind of materials and techniques, from embroidery to all sorts of rust dyeing methods. Then we have a junior studio, and this is where we have sponsored projects. I'm in talks with LVMH, with Kering. I was just talking earlier about Bottega Veneta having their first fashion show ever in Detroit, actually ever in the US. So it was 2 nights ago. Our students were working there, and they were just like crazy happy about the experience. Right now we have sponsor project with Stuart Weitzman, part of the Coach Tapestry group. So we're designing a collection for them and working very closely with the team. We actually always go to the headquarters, so we're going to New York. Last semester we had Calvin Klein. So we really expose students to this experiential learning with the companies. Tech back design is important, fashion brand management as well. And then, of course, portfolio. You do want to get a job, so we want to make sure that your portfolio is up to standard. Fashion trends, I spoke about them earlier. There's a lot of commercial companies around, and they look at trends. So this is we want to make this class a little deeper, but it's a fun class we're teaching already. And then we have various electives. I just put some words here. We're not so sure yet. Actually, there's one elective that is being written right now. It's Black fashion designers and history of. So I remember I was a Willie Ware client, Willie Smith, amazing designer, Patrick Kelly. Of course, now Telfar is super hot. So we want to make a very specific elective for that. The last year is going to be fun and super crazy. You will have a class where you research your collection, you design your collection, and then you have a class in the fall where you actually make the prototypes. So then when the winter, your last semester comes, you will be also having 2 classes. One class is the collection where you do the shooting, you do the fitting, you do we want the students to have a beautiful lookbook in the end. And you also have, we call it the Masterpiece Collection Studio, where you actually make your final pieces for the catwalk show. So this one is in very quick, is what the BFA program is all about. And I think this is a perfect moment to show the video we produced of our fashion show, that we were so lucky that we were able to show it. It was the age of COVID. We had prepped everything like ready to go if we were allowed. And then the governor announced, I think 3 days before the show, that you can be outside without a mask, with 100 people or something like that. So we were like, yes, let's do it. And we decided to use our parking lot where we had the fashion show. And it was like a beautiful night, I have to say. So I will share you the video of the show. And I do apologize, I'm talking a lot in the video, but this is what CCS wanted. So hold on a second. It's been in the making for over a year to get to this point. It is a very exciting moment in the history of our department. We will have our very first fashion show. I'm really excited and proud to show the world what our students are doing and making and how they will change the face of fashion. And it's all here in Detroit. really like the cooking aspect of it, putting it all together. And of course, we have a whole team of people working from makeup, hair, music, lights, sound, production, but all coming together and then sharing that with the audience. I mean, that is the best one can imagine. We cannot forget that accessories is one of the most lucrative pieces of any fashion house in the world. So the idea was that let's present our students' work the way that you would present any fashion. I want them to take a piece from their collections years from now and explain to their audience where the idea came from and what is the story behind it. It can be painful, it can be beautiful, it can be all of it in between, but this is the really important part. After seeing the students working so well with the models and with the hair and makeup production team, I'm not nervous anymore. I think it's going to be just a really beautiful event. Put them through a very rigorous program. They have created and made things that are not easy to make. I'm beyond proud. Is there a word for that? Super proud. And that's me and us and fashion.
I work at CCS. I'm still always impressed every time I see you present, Aki. I'm just like, man, it's so amazing what the students are doing. I think with the time left, I don't see any questions in the chat box. Could you speak to some of the things some of our recent graduates from the program are doing in their careers?
Sure. One of the recent messages I got from students was that she was hired by Michael Jordan Nike team, and she's working on children's collections, which is really, really fantastic. She's a perfect fit for her. Like big success story in the early days, which is basically 3 years ago. I mean, when we had that first graduates, is I got a job with Ralph Lauren, and she's a catwalk designer and actually working with Mr. Lauren. So that's a really major, major big deal. Recently we've had Kate Spade, the Tapestry Group, basically, they have a kind of what is it called? Apprenticeship program, where when you graduate, you can work for them for 6 months paid, and then they will hopefully, offer you a job. So we had 5 students, Bradley, Lauren, Josie, 5 students that were selected for the apprenticeship roles. And it's amazing. I mean, there are thousands of students that applied for these positions, and I'm so honored that these students from our department, our little department in Detroit, which is going to be huge, by the way. So they selected those students for this program, and Yeah, so those are some of the, but I have to also say that there are students that don't want to work for companies. We have two student graduates that started their own separate studios, and they want to really they want to stay small, they want to stay in Detroit, they want to find their place in the culture here. So I think that's a kind of a trend, actually.
Mhm.
I've spoken to other colleagues as well, and they're saying that there's a lot of students that are doing that.
Mhm. Amazing. Aki, you are a gem. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing so many amazing insights about the fashion industry and the really exciting things that our students at CCS are doing. So I know we'll be sharing this recording with everyone at our Connected event, so they can get inspired about the possibilities for fashion design careers. And if you are at all interested, which I'm sure you will be after listening to Aki, and learning more about joining CCS's fashion design family, make sure you email us at admissions@collegeforcreativestudies.edu so we can guide you through the admissions process and help you with any information about our pre-college programs as well, because we have summer and dual enrollment opportunities to pursue fashion design at CCS.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We have a competition. We are selecting 10 winners. It's a global competition, and we bring you for free. I think there's an $800 travel
Stipend, yep.
stipend, but you can be at CCS for 3 weeks for free, and you make accessories, you make clothes, you learn all the basics. So it's a very easy entry requirement. Just be creative and submit.
Yeah, we want you to submit. We want to see your fashions. I know I'm going to be poking a lot of our connected students who have amazing fashion work in their portfolio too about that opportunity. All right. Well, I'm off to go review more portfolios for Mini Portfolio Day. Thank you, Aki. Thank you, Barbara. And have a great rest of your weekend.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was wonderful.